What's up, you guys? We are back with another video. I'm so excited. It's been such a long time since we've been back. A lot has been going on since I've last spoken to you guys, and I know I have a lot to catch you guys up on, and I will, I promise, just not in this video. So this video is more or less a inspirational for some of you who are struggling with your faith in God, and if you're anything like me, your faith means everything to you. So this is for you guys specifically. And when I say this, trust me when I tell you, you'll understand what I mean. Forgive me, you guys, if I'm looking up and down. I just have my notes down here, because this is getting good. All right. So I really want to talk to you about. Let me put these notes aside for a second. I really just want to give you guys a heart-to-heart right now, and it's not something that I do often, or I did often, but going through what I'm going through, I realize how important it is to be open and honest and transparent, and I want to start that with you guys. So here we go. We all have a plan for our lives. We all know in theory, what we want to be when we grow up, when we're little girls or boys or whatever. We all have an idea, a plan for our life, so to speak. And what I found out is that I found this quote, and I didn't know how accurate, and forgive they're freaking fixing the, we do call them things, fire alarms in my house, so you'll hear them in the background from time to time, so forgive me for that. I found this quote one time, and I didn't know how accurate it was until I started going through what I was going through. And the quote was, "We make plans and God laughs." And that actually hit home so much so that I crafted this whole inspirational about how God laughed at my plans. And I wanted to share that with you guys because it amazes me just how much God laughed. So let me share something with you. And again, I have notes here, you guys, so I'm going to be looking up and down. Please forgive me. All right, so I really want to talk to you about that. But let me read what I have here. So it says, someone once said to me, if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans. And, you know, when I was younger, I thought that I was pretty funny, so that's exactly what I did. This is not a secret. My friends know, my family knows, and now you guys will know. I have had my whole entire life planned out from the time I was 13 years old. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, who I wanted to do it with, when I wanted to accomplish these things, and I wrote them all down. And I'm 20-something years old now, and I still have a journal full of things that I told God I wanted to do at certain ages. So let me share some of these things with you. So when I was about 12 or 13 years old, I've been preaching, sharing the gospel since I was a teenager. It's all I know. It's pretty much how I modeled my speaking career. I modeled my speaking career after how I learned how to speak in ministry. And I know that's weird, but speaking in church, being that church girl as a young teenager growing up in the ministry, gave me the confidence, gave me the ability to speak so well, where people are coming up to me and they're like, "How old are you?" But anyway, so I was about 13, 14 years old, somewhere around there, and I had been speaking for a while. And so my faith in God was at an all-time high when I started speaking. Like when I first started speaking, when I got my first Bible, which I still carry with me to speaking engagements, to this day. I don't care if it's a non-Christian speaking engagement. If I have to speak somewhere, the one thing that I require is my Bible, and I might not ever reference the scripture. I might not ever reference the Bible, but just knowing that I have that one piece of me with, like, I have to have it with me everywhere I go. So I went home, bought a journal, and I dedicated that whole entire journal to telling God my plans. So my plans were something like this. All right, God, at 14, I want to be a singer because I'm the only person in my family who can't hold a note. And I mean that quite literally. I cannot hold a note. I can't understand it. I don't know how it skipped me, and all of my siblings have that ability to sing. I don't have that ability to sing, and I'm very upset. So at 14, I told God I wanted to know how to sing. At 16, I wanted to be a CEO of my own company. I wanted to own my own company at 16 years old. At 18, I wanted to meet my husband. At 21, I wanted to be married. I wanted my first kid at 25 and my last one at 30. That was my plan for that first chunk of my life after, me believing in God. I knew I wanted to be a homeowner, and I'm telling God all this. Hey God, I want to be. This is what I want. This is what I want. I want to do this. I want to do this with this person. I want to do this with that person. Now, not only did I tell God my timeline, but I told God exactly who I wanted to be in each specific area of my life. I told God that I wanted a specific person to be my husband. I told God I wanted a specific house. I was so specific with God to the point where I told God that I wanted my husband to be 6 foot, brown eyes, and a smile that would melt my heart. And that's just my general what I knew I wanted. He had to be taller than me. He had to be brown skin because I love dark skinned men. He had to have beautiful brown eyes, and I'm not talking about I'm talking about beautiful hazel. I was so specific in what I wanted, and I knew God was going to give it to me because God is good at giving me what I want. But anyway, so I gave God the rundown, and I ended the prayer because I wasn't ungrateful. I wasn't ungrateful, so I thanked God for giving me the desires of my heart. I told him that if he gave me what I wanted, I promised I would love him and cherish him and spread his gospel throughout the earth for the rest of my life. That was my bargain with God. Again, I was 13 years old, so I was like, God is going to give me what I want. I got this. So my 13th, 14th, and 15th birthday came and went. I didn't get anything. My ability to sing, still absent. And I let that go. I let that go because at that point in time, I really wanted that gift because I was the only one who didn't have that gift. But then when he made me realize that I had the gift of knowledge and the gift of wisdom and the gift of revelation at such a young age that a lot of people didn't have, I was like, you know what, God? You're right. I'll take that. I don't want to be a singer anymore. I'll be the speaker. I got this. Boom, done deal. But my 16th birthday was something that 6 months before my 16th birthday was the moment that my life changed and my faith changed in God forever. And that was the moment I knew without a doubt that I'm God's favorite. And before you turn your face up at me and before you say that God doesn't have favorites, he told me himself, I am his favorite. In the book of Luke, chapter 1, I believe it's verse 27 to verse 30, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is where I took it for myself, where God told me that I am blessed and highly favored, and that the Lord is with me, and blessed art thou among women. Yes, my name is Mary, and yes, I took that for myself, and I held on to that. So 6 months before my 16th birthday, my mind was completely blown, because he gave me the idea that I wanted. He gave me the idea for my company, and I was so excited. It wasn't the company that I wanted, but it was exactly what I needed, because the way he broke it down to me, I was like, this is God-given. God, you gave me this idea, so God, you got to make this idea work. He gave me the idea for Fostered Success 6 months before my 16th birthday. And I was so excited. I mean, I was ecstatic. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to jump into it head first. But then I had to put it on hold because I got scared. I got scared when God gave me what I wanted and what I asked for. But I kept thinking about it. I couldn't let it go. I couldn't, let it. So every day I would do something small to start working on this business. And before I knew it, it consumed my entire life. So I took out that little checklist, this little checklist right here. that I gave God when I was 13 years old. And I crossed off company for my 16th birthday. I crossed it off. I was so ecstatic. I was like, yes, got it. So what was next? On my list next was meeting my husband. And I hadn't met my husband I haven't met my husband. I didn't meet my husband for like, I wanted to meet him when I was 18. I didn't actually meet my husband until the week before my 21st birthday. So when my 18th birthday had come and gone, and I was still very much single, I was like, God, what are you doing? Like, chop chop. Like, I told you I wanted to at least meet my husband, have an idea of who he is at this time. But he gave me a different idea instead. So when I was 18, I started writing letters to this man that I knew I was going to marry, and I got so bold and so brazen in God that no matter what I wrote down, I knew God was going to give it to me, because that's just how he was. God has always been very, very good at giving me exactly what I needed to prosper in my life. It wasn't always on my time frame, but it was always what I needed at that point in time. So from the time I was 18 till the time I met my husband when I was 21, I wrote letters to him, and I prayed every single day, multiple times a day, about this man. And what most people don't believe me about is that I still have these letters, still to this day, written to this man, and I don't think I'd ever give them to him. I shared a few with you all. I shared a few on my podcast. I'll put that link down in the description below. But I met him about a week and a half before my 21st birthday. He asked me to be his, and we started dating. And for those you've seen him, you know exactly what he looks like. He does not look like me. He does not look like the man that I described to God. And I feel like that was the first time God just chuckled at me and my plans, because I told God that I wanted somebody who was 6 foot. My husband ended up being 5'9". I told God that I wanted somebody who was brown skin or dark skin, and I got somebody who was white. I told God that I wanted somebody who had beautiful brown hazel eyes, and my husband ended up having blue eyes. My husband was blonde hair, blue eyed, white boy, and I wanted somebody who was dark, tall, dark, and handsome. So that's where God and I, when I first started to realize that God and we weren't on the same page. And so that was the first time I felt like God was actually laughing at my plans. And so that happened. I was absolutely ecstatic. It wasn't in my time frame, but that's exactly what God gave me. So then, we ended up getting married about 3 years later. And, we went through the ups and downs. We had a beautiful wedding, beautiful reception, amazing honeymoon. And then shit hit the fan. Excuse my language. But, things didn't turn out the way I hoped. And it was something that made me question who I was in God and who God actually was in my life, because I could not figure out why God had me go through what I went through in my marriage. I couldn't figure out why God would allow something like this to happen to me. Like, God, it's me. So when I realized that I was going through what I was going through of my own accord, and it wasn't really God's fault, it was my fault, because I was putting a man above my creator. And when I sat down and when I really realized this, it caused me to plunge headfirst into what I call my Jonah phase. Now, for those of you who don't know the story of Jonah, Jonah was assigned to go to Nineveh to decree and declare the gospel to them, and he ended up going in the opposite direction. And because of his disobedience, and because he decided to go in the opposite direction of what God told him to do, he ended up getting swallowed by the whale for 3 days. He ended up going to Nineveh anyway. Long story short. So for me, that forced me to go plunge headfirst into my Jonah phase, which is where I am right now in this moment, in this period of my life. I know where God is calling me to. I know what he has desired for me. I've seen it. And I am so afraid of it. And it's not afraid like I know he wouldn't take care of me, because I know he would. It's not a fear like and before all of my Christian friends and my Christian preachers come at me talking about God does not give us a spirit of fear but a power of love and of a sound mind. Yes, I got that. My Christians, I got it. I know. But in me and my Jonah, like, and I'm enjoying my Jonah phase. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie to you. But I do not. I'm not ready for it. And that's me speaking out of my flesh. I completely know that. I'm not ready for where he wants to take me, and I'm not really sure I want to go there just yet. But I knew God started laughing when I knew God started laughing at my plans when I started to realize that everything that I said I wasn't going to do, I ended up doing. Everything I said I wasn't going to accomplish, I ended up accomplishing. And everything that I said I had no desire for, I found myself wanting it even more. And it all turns back to God. And I say that with all gumption, because I know it to be true. God has not left me alone in this situation, in this circumstance. And that is what I want to let you know right now. You may be in a dark place, and please hear me when I say this. If you are in a dark place, please know that I will sit with you. I will pray with you. I will talk with you. Even if you just want me to just be there with you, I will be there with you until you see the light. But even if you are in that dark place, even if you are sitting there wondering why God is having you go through these things, why you are hurting, why you are going through everything, please know that in my heart of hearts, I know for a fact, I know this to be true because I have experienced it. God has not left you alone. You are not alone in this situation. You are not alone in this circumstance. You may feel like there is nobody around that cares, but I promise you, he is sitting right there with you. He said, if you make your bed in hell, he is there. God has not left you. He is waiting for you to acknowledge him. He is waiting for you to need him. He is waiting for you to say, God, I need you. I need you more than anything. And once you say that, once you realize that you are not alone and that God has never left you, the amount of peace that overwhelms your soul, the amount of not even happiness, joy. And I say joy because happiness depends on something happening to you. You can be happy one moment and then be sad the next. Believe me, I know. But when you have that joy that can only come from God, just wrapped around you in every single area, every single direction that you look, it blows my mind to see just how much God really has done for me, even when I didn't want it, even when I told God I didn't want anything to do with him. And there were times in my life, even in my adult life, when I completely turned my back to God. And even when I ran in the other direction, when I ran in the other direction of my Nineveh, God found me and he protected me and he loved me and he encouraged me to come home. Like I am the walking definition of the prodigal son. I am the prodigal son. I am the one that left God, that left my family, that left my ministry where it was because I felt like I could make it on my own. And when I came to my senses, when I realized that God is always on my side, when I came to myself, like the scripture says, and he came to himself, I had to go back home. I had to humble myself and say, you know what, God? Irregardless, like I'm not even worthy. I'm not worthy to be called your son. I'm not worthy to be called your daughter. I'm not worthy to be called your child. Just make me one of your hired servants. And when he wraps his arms around you and he says, look, I was waiting for you. I was always here for you. I love you. You are my child. You are my son. You are my daughter. The peace that you feel is like nothing you've ever felt before in your life. I just want to encourage you, and I am not a preacher in the traditional sense, but I promise you, God has not left you alone. He is there for you. He is waiting for you to acknowledge him. He is waiting for you to need him. He is waiting for you to cry out to him. So do yourself a favor and cry out to God. I don't care if you cry out to him so that people down the block can hear you. I don't care if it's just a conversation in your head between you and God. But when you need God the most, I promise you, he will be there. Thank you so much for staying with me. Thank you so much for talking with me. Thank you so much for just being who you are. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys. Bye.